Rodney, firstly, how's Melbourne been treating? What have the boys been up to during the week?
Mostly training. Had the day off yesterday, so just I think enjoying the local cafes and things like that. But we had a good session on Tuesday. There was a recovery on Monday. Went to the pitches on Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Then we've got a full day today.
And what's the main reason for staying of the week? Obviously, it's a relatively short flight just to get back, but the reason for staying?
We talked about it about 6 weeks ago. Just the fact that we couldn't make finals, just something different. We know towards the end of the year, especially with our injuries, we're going to be sort of limping a bit towards the end of the year. So just about to keep them rejuvenated. It was a 6-day break. If it was a 7-day break, we probably would have gone back. If we were playing finals, we probably would have gone back as well. So it's just a bit of a change-up.
How disappointing was the loss to Essendon?
Extremely disappointing, especially with what we'd shown the previous 7 weeks. With limited numbers, we were really pleased with the way we're going about it, the development of some players and their effort. But at the weekend, en masse, except for probably maybe 2 players, I thought it was a really disappointing performance.
You're back at Etihad again. You don't have a great record there. What do you think that is?
I haven't got a great record anywhere, so that's not too big a drama. I don't think it's a mental issue because the ground is not much different in size to Metricon. It's only a metre less in length and I think about 4 metres in width. So it's not too big a difference. So we just got to back up from last week. That was really poor and we've got to bounce back.
What do you see as the Pies' strength?
I think their strength is their midfield. I think is their pressure. They're able to win the ball in tight, but they're able to put pressure on the opposition. So we've got to be able to cope with that.
What would Saturday night's result basically determine whether this week's been a success coming down here?
No, not at all. No. I wasn't going to worry about the results as far as judging whether it's a success. Whether we won both games, you probably don't do it again. But it was just something different. That was all.
David Swallow made a comeback in the NEFL last week. How did he go and what's the prospects?
The reports were pretty good. He played about 60% of game time. Played quite well. So he'll play another one in the NEFL this week and we'll see how he pulls up.
Is he a chance to play in that last game?
Well, according to David, he is. So I think David's pretty keen to play. So I think that'll be a sort of collective decision, medical, high performance and David himself. So if David is not comfortable, we wouldn't even contemplate it. But if David's comfortable and he gets a tick off, well, there's a good chance.
I mean, apart from the obvious, why do you think he's so keen to just get out there and play?
I think because he just hasn't played for so long. I think he's a competitor. He just loves. He's been a long rehab. I think he just wants to have reward for effort. And I think having played last week, but even this week in the seconds, will be a good confidence boost for him to go into the pre-season. But I think getting a senior game will just add to that confidence.
A real silver lining on the year is Tom Lynch. He's still nipping at the heels for the Coleman as well.
Yeah, he is. He had a down day last week. It was disappointing the way he performed, as a lot of other players as well. But I think he's driven by the Coleman. I think just being now the co-captain with Stephen, I think that's been his driver for the team. He's a very team-orientated person, and I think he'll, from pride point of view, he'll want to bounce back. But I think B mainly is to help the team.
Just on a separate issue, are you resigned at the fact of losing Dion Presti?
No, not yet. He hasn't spoken to us about that. But all the noise is that looks like it's going to happen. But that happens, that's fine. We'll just drive a hard bargain to be able to get a compensation for it.
Are you surprised you haven't spoken to him about it yet?
Oh no, we've spoken to him. He's sort of indicated family's a strong pull. I suppose like Dangerfield when he went back to Geelong, that's a strong driver for him. He's probably torn a little bit because of his mates and the fact he's been here for 6 years and really enjoys it. So, but anyway, there's a lot of water going to bridge yet.
Do you think the success of the team this year is a driving factor for him to potentially go home?
No, not that he said that. No, he hasn't said that. It's family. It's family's his driver. That's all.
What about Jager O'Meara? Where's that stand?
I think for Jager to give us an indication, but we're still hopeful and reasonably confident. I think he's torn a little bit himself.
What do you think he's worth if he does go?
Money wise?
No. How good a player?
Oh, yeah, he's good. I think our offer would reflect what we would think we need to get compensated for him. I think. Really, he's a year younger than Treloar. We think he's as good a player. His leadership, we would think, there'd be 2 first rounds in the top 10.
What do you get out of the last 2 rounds, Robert? What do you look to get out?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I think to be competitive again, like we have been the previous 7 weeks. I think we've got had a lot of growth as a team, had some growth as individuals. I think there've been some real pleasing signs, but obviously with the youngsters now we're starting to limp to the line a little bit, but we've just got to maintain the spirit that we've shown, except for last week, the previous 7 or 8 weeks. So that's what we're looking for.
Just in terms, so just to go back to Jager and Dion, what's the main selling point for the club if you were to sit down and say stay with us? Where do you go with that?
Oh, I think you can see the future. I think what we've been able to achieve, especially the last 8 weeks, with with no midfielders such as top 6 midfielders out, be able to show where we're headed. I think the program we're putting in place, then they're both really pleased with that. So that's why I think, for Dion, as an example, the family's a real driving force, as I said, like Dangerfield, and I don't think we can underestimate that with players at clubs around Australia. But he's torn a bit because he'd love to stay.
How much of a setback would it be for the club to lose one or both of them?
How much a setback was Hawthorn losing Suckling and Franklin, and teams are going to lose players. I think this period is going to be a real aggressive trade period, but I think we've got to get used to. And I think we're more vulnerable as GWS because we've got a lot of interstate players. There's not many homegrown players, so that's going to happen. We haven't lost many really as a club. We've only lost 2 or 3 of what we wanted to keep. So I think we've got a reasonable record, to be honest. But it's going to happen. It'll be a setback, but you move on, and then we'll get some compensation. We'll get some players in.
Beautiful.